So if anybody needs to pick up credits before the end of the year, we will be available for that. Um, Again, we're still continuing to support our uh, family consumer science program. We've actually got the largest group of extension clubs in the state with 71 members. Um, so even without a home economist, we're still taking care of business there and supporting our folks. And then now that things are kind of back to order, Carol Calderon, our ICANN educator, has been able to get back in the schools and making contacts and doing what we do there to impact kids with nutrition education. So, like I say, we're back to doing business. We never quit, but we're back to a more traditional type setup and doing what we do. So, I thank you guys for your support and your time, and I'd sure stand for any questions if you have any.
Just like to say congratulations on your livestock team.
Thank you, sir.
Place that high in national competition takes a considerable amount of expertise and many years of practice. And I think that's highly commendable. I would ask, this was a 4-H contest, but are these, my background's in the FFA, what are their limitations as far as continuing to be participate in this as far as 4-H is concerned?
At the 4-H level, we can't go back to Louisville. That's a one and done deal. Once you've attended the national contest, you can't repeat. So from the 4-H side, they're really pretty much done. They can still compete at the state level. They just can't advance beyond the state level, but they can certainly participate in FFA.
Okay. But these kids don't all go to belong to the same FFA chapter?
No, sir. There's 2 from Dora and 2 from Elida.
Oh, I was hoping maybe they could continue
And I think they have aspirations, and they certainly
they
do
would
plan
have
to
to be on a
participate.
different have incorporate other team members to do that. Okay, thank you. But congratulations, that's outstanding.
Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick.
All right. Thank you, guys.
All right, let's move on to the Roosevelt County Health Assessment. Ms. Gentry. And Ms. Collins, are you going to get up with her too? All right. Ms. Gentry, Ms. Collins.
Thank you guys for allowing us to come today. So I've been with the Roosevelt County Health Council. It'll be 10 years in April. So we've been doing a lot of things. We have a help wanted poster, which it would invite anyone to come to our council if you would like to. And then on the back of this is just some of the things that we've done. We've tried to be really busy in looking at how we could do things during COVID. It did kind of put a stop to everything like it has everything else. We did get a grant this year from the Center for Health Innovations. And so they're wanting us to do a community health assessment, which we want to get your input on what are the needs of our community. But a big caveat to that is we can't build a hospital. We can't build a health facility. We are a health council. So what can the health council do to help with the health and wellness of our community? And we did, and I think she said she was going to put it in your packet, the health assessment that we did. So I hope you guys had a chance to look over that. I didn't realize there would be so many here. We could have really gotten a lot of information. But there were 5 questions. Did you guys have a chance to look at those? The 5 questions from... Okay. So what we really need is input from the community. So how do you want us to do this? Do you want us to just ask and do like a discussion, or?
I think in the interest of time, at the discretion of the chair, you can just present the questions and then have everyone, if you have an email address or a way, I mean, there's a lot of people in the audience, as you said, too. So maybe they could find a way, if you have a website or if you want us, we can always send it out to the agenda. It was in their meeting packet, but we can resend anything to the public distribution list as well.
Okay, well, I will let Lori kind of go over this. I did hand out to you guys a little bit of data about Roosevelt County also. I gave that to Amber.
And it's a health profile that's been done in the past, which is what's similar is what the information we're getting now. Unfortunately, this data is all from prior to the pandemic, so it'll look quite a bit differently, I think, with the new stuff. But what it is the state is doing a SHIP, which is a state health improvement plan, and then they're wanting input from each of our counties so that our rural counties get a voice. Because a lot of times when we're on Zooms with people from Santa Fe and Albuquerque, it's almost like we're from a different planet. We just don't have the same issues, and they don't understand how many barriers we have in our rural areas for healthcare. And so we're just trying to come up with some things that the Health Council can help with. And a lot of times what we think are not necessarily what the community thinks. So what we're looking for is what we feel that the number one health challenges in Roosevelt County. What is a health challenge you think that the Health Council can actually address? Like she said, we can't recruit doctors and we can't do things like that. We can create awareness about issues of why, but other than that, and then we just want some of the concerns that our Health Council and Health Equity came up with would be mental health, which is behavioral health, drug misuse, suicide, physical health, which would be oral, visual, emergency care, obesity, heart disease, blood pressure, diabetes. Vaping has caused a lot of issues in our youth, and it came out. It was advertised as better than smoking, and then the data is coming out different from that. So better for you than smoking. Community health, food insecurity, housing, daycare. Really hard to get daycare in this town right now. Teen pregnancy, uninsured people and underinsured people, people who have such high deductibles, it's like you might as well not have health care. Social health and violence, domestic violence, child abuse and neglect, and firearm injury. So those are some of the issues that we would like to see what you think about that. And then what are our barriers that contribute to that, and suggestions on how health concerns can be addressed. So that's just basically what the assessment is. And we just want community input before we send it to the people in Albuquerque and Santa Fe, and just so that our voice is heard. So, and that's what we're doing.
Like Miss Hamilton stated, do y'all have a website or just your phone number, Miss Gentry, that's on that one?
My phone number
If anybody-
or my email address.
Yeah.
My cell phone number is 575-760-5908. But I can send out this to you on email, and that address is Deborah, Deborah.gentry@doh.nm.gov. They just changed it on
I
us.
was
We've
fixing to
had
say
this-
that's the different one.
Yeah, we used to be state.nm.us, but now
Now it's what did you say?
it's Deborah.gentry@doh.nm.gov.
And then our data helps us get funding for different projects. Over the pandemic, we did a survey on vaccinations, and because Roosevelt County was one of the least vaccinated in the state. And so Santa Fe and Albuquerque wanted to make sure that people who got who wanted the vaccination could get it. And so from our surveys, we found out that it wasn't the barrier of where to get it
Bless you.
or how to get it. It was people did not want it. And we wanted to give them that information, that it wasn't because of a barrier of lack of being able to get it, lack of access. It was because of personal choice. And they need that data.
And if any of you would like to come to our health council, we would love to have you. We're trying to start up a safe and responsible marijuana use. We applied for a grant, and I don't believe we got it, but we do have some funding that we may to apply to that. being a retired school teacher, makes me really sad that these kids are coming to school with the candy and not even aware maybe of what they're taking. Kids are passing it out. So, I mean, it is legal, not for children, and we just want safe and responsible use. So if you guys have any ideas or anything on that, we would love to hear that also.
When is your next meeting?
We're not, it's supposed to, it's always the first Wednesday of the month. So it should be on the 7th at noon, and it's via Zoom or in person. But we have an all staff meeting in Roswell that day. So it will be January, was it 4th? I can't remember, the first Wednesday in January at noon. And if you guys do email me or ask for the survey, I will also send you the link to our meeting. So, all right. Thank you.
Any more? Have anything?
I have none. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did anybody have questions?
Yeah, where is your meetings held at?
The meeting is, do you know where the United Way is at the Methodist, right, and not the Methodist, the Presbyterian Church right next to it?
Oh.
Yeah. So, and I don't know the address, but the Presbyterian Church is right there, and then there's a big sign that says United Way.
If y'all would like to come to the next meeting with the address and what y'all can discuss, I wouldn't mind
Okay.
having it on.
Well, actually, Dennis has been attending our meetings, so we've appreciated that.
All righty. Well, all right. Thank y'all. Okay, now we're going to go on to public request. Right now, if anyone would have anything they would like to speak on that's on the agenda, this will be your time. You'll have 3 minutes. You will be timed. That's all you'll get. Some of the things I'd like to point out here is all your comments need to be directed towards the commissioners, not anyone in the audience. And please, no threatening or abusive, disruptive stuff. Just let's try to keep it civil in here for everybody. No personal attacks, and just kind of have respect for your neighbor. So at this time is if there is someone who would like to speak, please go to the podium and state your name.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Elaine Gard. I am a resident of Roosevelt County. I'm here today to urge you to vote no on Agenda Item 8B, the Ordinance 2023-1, requiring abortion providers in Roosevelt County to comply with federal law. New Mexico has a very strong history of protecting and expanding access to reproductive health care, including safe and legal abortion. I'm a mother of 2 individuals who are 14 and 20, and along with me, we deserve to be allowed to make decisions about our reproductive health care. These decisions are personal and must remain between the person seeking care, their loved ones, and their medical provider. Put honestly, abortion is health care, and counties are responsible for public health. Counties must support people who self-manage their health care, which includes access to abortions because it is their duty to do so. Counties are the form of government most embedded in people's daily lives. They pave the streets residents drive on, provide health care, and manage our county's industry and resources. Counties also take a uniquely pragmatic approach to governance. More than state and national governments, counties must be directly responsive to the needs of their residents, cutting across those traditional political divides. And as a result, our counties are where the constitutional rubber will meet our road. They are often where rights, including the human right to abortion, move from theory to something people either have or do not have. The ordinance as written is an affront to the rights of all citizens of Roosevelt County to seek abortion care, limiting what can be received by healthcare providers and individuals with broad statements that do not clearly define these items, many of which are FDA approved and legal for a variety of uses, of which abortion is just one such use, to criminalize self-managed and provider-managed abortion care in our county. In this way, this ordinance does by law enforcement and our citizens is an overreach of county governance. Limiting reproductive health care, which is currently non-existent in our county, will only further harm social and economic equality, reproductive autonomy, and the county's citizens' right to determine our own lives. You are all sworn to represent the rights of all county residents for whom you serve, not just the majority of those who share your beliefs, but all residents. Legal challenge to this ordinance will put our county's finances at risk, and the limited funds that you have at your disposal should be used to provide care and resources to the citizens of Roosevelt County, not to diminish them. In many of your campaign statements, you talk about valuing input from your constituencies. If this is true, then I must compel you and your fellow commissioners to stand in solidarity with all your constituents.
Ma'am, your 3 minutes are up. Yeah, that's fine. If y'all want to line up, I will ask not to just repeat repetitive one after another the same thing if you agree. But you go ahead. You're next.
Okay, good morning. I'm Linda Sumption, and I've lived in Portales since 2003. I'd like to make 2 points in opposition to the anti-abortion ordinance. First, the Supreme Court of the United States has ruled that abortion rights are in the hands of the states. In New Mexico, abortion is legal, including in Roosevelt County. Your ordinance, which would make abortion services impossible, uses case law that was created when abortion was illegal throughout the country a long time ago. That case law no longer applies. If we are a nation of laws, we abide by current, not obsolete statutes. Current law supersedes prior law. That was certainly true when the Supreme Court overruled Roe v. Wade. If and when this ordinance goes into litigation, I have no doubt that the courts will uphold current law at a great legal expense to Roosevelt County. Second, and on a more personal level, I'd noticed something about the rationale our local citizens often use in their desire to outlaw choice. They invariably bring their religious convictions and also claim that there is no separation of church and state in our U.S. Constitution. That is not true. The First Amendment to the Constitution reads as follows: Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. Christians, people of other faiths, and people with other beliefs have widely different opinions when it comes to when human life begins. Yet the anti-choice arguments I hear usually seem based on the notion that their religious beliefs against a woman's right to abortion must carry the day legally. That is not constitutional. For these reasons, I oppose the ordinance you are considering and ask that you acknowledge your duty to represent all citizens and residents in Roosevelt County. Thank you.
Good morning, commissioners. I am grateful to be here today and have this opportunity to speak. My name is Cassandra Villanueva. I'm an elementary and special education student at ENMU. I'm also the president of the ENMU College Democrats Student Club. But most importantly, the title that I carry with the highest honor is that of mom. I have an incredible and brilliantly outspoken 9-year-old daughter who couldn't be here today, but in the spirit of her passion, dedication, and ambition to grow up in a world that values the power and leadership of girls, I will tell you that she thinks someone trying to take away her right to control her body is ridiculous and unfair. She wants to know how someone could be so cruel to try to do this. You see, in the short 9 years of her life, she has been a proud Girl Scout for 5 of them, going on 6. At the national level, she has been New Mexico state champion for cursive handwriting, and most recently, she completed an academic semester equivalent at ENMU in their Girls Who Code program led by computer science professor Seth. She is in a cohort of young girls living in Portales who are doing big things. big things for themselves and big things for the future of Portales. My daughter has been surrounded by people and environments in the last 9 years that tell her she is the future. She is powerful, she is strong, she's a leader, one that tells her she can be president, she can be governor like Michelle Lujan Grisham, or a congresswoman like Teresa Leger Fernandez, an astronaut, a scientist, an artist, an environment that tells her she can and will be successful in life, one that tells her she will be a leader for Portales, for New Mexico, our country, and our world. So it is unfathomable to me as a parent to believe that an ordinance like the one you are considering regarding reproductive access is going to enhance or protect our community in any way, shape, or form. If a person cannot have the right to choose what is done or not done to their body, we cannot, as members of this community and in good conscience, say that we believe in our kids. We cannot say that we want and are doing what is best for them, because if we are criminalizing their health choices for what they believe is safe and best for their body, we are teaching our children to doubt themselves and to doubt the power of their ability to assess and enact upon what is best for them. And as a member of this community, I want it to be known loud and clear that I do not support the ordinance you are considering or anything like it, now or ever. Thank you.
If we could remain from clapping or cheering, I mean, it's just respectful to others. Thank you.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Cheyenne Sansom, and I am a resident of Roosevelt County and a faculty member at Eastern New Mexico University. I'm here today to urge you to vote no on Resolution 8B. New Mexico state law provides women in Roosevelt County the right to safe and legal abortion. Any county ordinance that prevents access to this right is government interference and a violation of a civil right. I'm a sexually active woman of childbearing age who lives in this county, and as such, I am speaking for the thousands of women like myself who cannot be here today. At least half of all American women who can become pregnant will experience an unintended pregnancy by age 45, and about 1 in 3 women will have an abortion. Abortion is one of the safest procedures in the United States for women in the United States. Less than 0.5% of pregnant people obtaining an abortion experience a complication. Abortion is a common reproductive health experience. Individuals in Roosevelt County have minimal or no access to contraceptive information and services. The closest is Clovis, and the office has a very long wait list. Most women have to travel 90 miles or more. Even when a woman is able to access contraceptive services, no contraceptive is 100% effective. Therefore, there will always be a need for abortion services. Abortion restrictions and bans fall hardest on people who already face discriminatory obstacles to healthcare. People of color, people in rural areas like ours, young people, immigrants, and those having a tough time making ends meet. This includes students at ENMU, who are an essential part of our community and our county's economy. Restricting healthcare choices here will deter many of these young people from choosing to study at ENMU. The ordinance violates my legal right to choices over my reproductive rights, and I ask the Commission not to support this resolution. Thank you for your time.
My name's Diane Crandall. I live in Portales. I'm pro-choice, and I believe that every individual has the right to decide what happens to their own body, and it's no one's business but theirs. My understanding is that the Commission wants to pass an ordinance that complies with a federal law that prohibits the mailing of instruments and/or pharmaceuticals that might be used to perform an abortion in Roosevelt County. If the commissioners are so intent on following federal law, I'm wondering why there is no objection to the several marijuana dispensaries operating in this county. Cannabis is considered a controlled substance at the federal level, which makes the production and distribution of marijuana a federal offense. And it seems to me when money's involved, tax money to be specific, the lines have become blurred and there is now a double standard. Regarding the Commission's desire to become a so-called sanctuary for the unborn, why not consider becoming a sanctuary for the already born, for living children, those in the foster care system, those who live in abusive homes, those who don't have nutritious food or enough food or clothing or proper medical care? Pro-life means for the living. So maybe a sanctuary for single parents, abused women and children, the mentally ill, the poor, the underserved, and homeless in this community. And my understanding is there's a push presently by ENMU and the community to attract more students to come here and live on campus. But this ordinance is exactly the type of thing that drives young people away. Finally, as a taxpayer, I don't wish to have my tax dollars spent on a defense against the lawsuit that will surely come with the passage of such an ordinance. I also want to address agenda item 6 regarding the extended contract and pay raise for the county manager. I'm seriously disturbed by the effort of this commission to push through a large pay raise without performing an evaluation or without transparency to the citizens and taxpayers of Roosevelt County. A $15,000 raise seems a bit excessive to me. In a county that seems to barely have enough money to take care of business for its citizens, a salary of $97,000 a year seems more than sufficient. Thank you.
Okay, starting my timer now. My name is Todd Fuquay. I am a resident of Roosevelt County, Portales. I work at Eastern Mexico University, specifically the ENMU Foundation. I have 3 problems with this sanctuary city ordinance. One, I don't think it's conservative. It may be socially conservative, but if this ordinance is passed, it will open up this county to a lawsuit. I understand that's really nothing new to this county. It's been sued a few times, and one even resulted in a $3.75 million settlement, which I think is being what's the word? is being appealed, but still $3.75 million. This ordinance could easily result in a lawsuit, and the ordinance could be overturned by the state Supreme Court, and it's going to cost a lot of money to defend against that. The ordinance likely will cost this county. Can we afford another $3 million settlement? Passing an ordinance that you know could cost the county millions of dollars in damages is fiscally irresponsible and not fiscally conservative. Second, I don't think this ordinance is particularly Christian. It is being championed by a Christian pastor, and people have come to public meetings in the past speaking in favor of it by straight up reading from the Bible and invoking the name of God. But allow me to share a reading of my own. Termination of pregnancy, even at the earliest possible stage under normal circumstances without any reason, is not allowed. The law does not permit the abortion of a fetus. Now, I'm sure that there are plenty in this county that agree with that sentiment. And if so, they agree with the Ayatollah Khomeini, the former dictator of Iran. And the law he was referring to is Sharia law. Maybe we should be advocating that tradition be adopted by this county. Of course not. No, that's not what I'm saying. But I hope that this illustrates how dangerous it is to allow one's religion's tenets to drive governmental policy. As elected officials, you represent all the residents of Roosevelt County, not just those who voted for you, not just the Christians, not just the conservatives. Do not attempt to impose one's religion morals on a populace, no matter how many of them share the same faith. By the way, I'm a Christian. That brings me to my final point. And I'm not going to reread the First Amendment. That's already been read. But it does, to me, mean that government should have absolutely nothing to do with religion in any way. Freedom of religion also means freedom from religion. And if a section of the populace decides they don't want to believe in God or believe in a God that differs from yours, government can't do a thing about it. That is where I think this ordinance crosses the line. It was sponsored by a Christian pastor. It's obvious that the Christian religious conservatism is driving this movement. In my eyes, this represents the imposition of a religion on the general populace, and that makes this ordinance un-American. Don't be un-American. Don't even consider this ordinance. Thank you.
Good morning, gentlemen and ladies. My name is Ronald Dixon. I live in Clovis, New Mexico. My address is 1666 SR 209. I have some friends in Carlsbad, several in Roswell, Tucumcari, and a lot in Clovis. And they are waiting for other counties and other cities to make the move like Hobbs has. I don't feel like I should support abortion, pay for it as a taxpayer. I don't think the government should have anything to say about your personal health or reproduction. There is so many things you can prevent pregnancy with, and prevention is a lot better than after the fact. I wanted to let you know I'm very much against this. I understand being in a position where you could be sued. Sometimes you just got to stand your grounds and make your decision regardless of what the threat is. Don't do like Clovis does and just kick the bucket down the road again. They've done it 2 or 3 times now and haven't made a decision. Think long, you think wrong. Y'all make your best decision. Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Krista Peach, and I live at 305 East 18th Street here in Portales in Roosevelt County. For clarification purposes, my last name was Jones. I have sent you guys emails and letters, so I just want to make sure you understand that I recently changed my name because I got married. So, in my email and letters to this commission, I expressed concern with proposed ordinance 2023-01 due to litigation fees and the effects it will have on mission readiness at Cannon Air Force Base. While I don't want to rehash these topics now, I assume you guys read my letters and emails. I do want to point out that 18 USC 1461, 1462, and 1961, the obscenity and racketeering laws being used to validate this ordinance, do not uphold per the 1930 decision in United States versus One package, as these laws have been interpreted not to apply to materials used for lawful abortions. Further, city laws still have to follow state law, regardless of whether they're basing it on federal law or not, says David Cohen, professor of law at Drexel University. Finally, Clovis City Commissioner Megan Paula sought the expertise of 7 attorneys from local, state, and national levels, 4 of which that are personally pro-life, regarding a similar ordinance that was tabled at the Clovis City Commission meeting on November 3rd. They advise caution and examination of long-term consequences. I hope you will heed their warnings as you vote to introduce ordinance 2023-01 today. Thank you.
Commissioners, just so you know, I am a combat veteran of the Air Force. I've lived here since 2012. I've recently gotten out.
State your name.
My name is John Peach. I've recently gotten out about 9 years ago, and I've made this place my home. So just so you know, that's where I'm coming from. The arguments for this ordinance always seem to be based on the Christian faiths, like we've already been told. Because of that, we are going to be preventing other faiths from being able to practice their religion because of this ordinance. Those faiths are Conservative Judaism, the Presbyterian Church, Reformed Judaism, Unitarian Universalist, and United Christian Church of Christ. There are others that will be affected by this because of this ordinance. That would be against our Constitution. Do not pass this ordinance. Thank you.
Morning, Commissioners. My name is Gene Bundy. I'm a semi-native in New Mexico. I've only lived here since 1959. I've only lived in Portales since, 46 years, give or take a little bit. I worked at Eastern New Mexico University for 29 years, retired almost 3 years ago. I was a professional staff, and I made less than a third of what the county manager's making now. And I thought I was doing pretty darn good. And I'm doing all right retired. I was in the Navy. I got out in 1972. We moved to Roswell. We didn't know my wife was pregnant. We already had 2 kids. A lot of stress when we got out. Big move from Virginia to New Mexico. My wife got a job standing up. We didn't realize she was pregnant. She started having all kinds of problems. She had a spontaneous abortion. She had to have a D&C. Under this proposal, that would be illegal. She probably would have died without having that D&C. She did die, but not until 2003. Her parents were both chain smokers. She ended up with lung cancer. In my life, I've had 2 wives. I've got two daughters, 5 granddaughters, 2 great-granddaughters. I do not want you guys, I don't want me making a decision about what my wives, my daughters, my granddaughters, my great-granddaughters, what happens to their bodies. That's for them. Finally, I traveled the state a lot, and all over I go into chambers of commerce, museums. I see stuff from Portales. That's great. We're getting advertising out. It always says warm heart of the Sun Belt. I think we need to change that to white, straight males only need apply, because this county is becoming anti-immigrant, anti-colored, anti-women. So let's think about changing it. White males, straight males only. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Micah Thompson. I wasn't really planning on speaking to you today, but I just want to give another voice. I've lived here all of my life. I have children. I have girls and boys, and I'm proud of you for considering the life of the unborn and all that comes with that as well. It's not about choice. We have a choice whether to have contraceptives, to participate in sexual activities. You have a choice if you're going to be pregnant or not. Everyone in here knows that. We're mature enough to know that. So it's not about choice. It's about what happens with a life once there is inception. And I applaud you for considering the lives of all the people, not just those that are able to speak, because even though a child hasn't been born, they are alive. And a lot of you have said we need to consider all of the lives. I completely agree. Let's consider all of them.
Hi, I'm Lillian Loy, and I am the voice of millions and millions and millions of voices that have never been heard and never will be heard. I want you to consider those that were aborted that might have been presidents, teachers, lawyers, the great women of America, as we've heard talked about today. We have a lot of them that their mothers chose to have them. And I just would like you to consider giving those that are unborn the same chance to experience in life what they might be to the fullest. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Angie Smith. There's so many points I'd like to make, so I'll try to go through them very quickly. There is no state law currently in New Mexico regarding abortions. What happened in 2020 was a repeal of the 1969 law. So currently on the books, there is no law regarding abortion. There's no law allowing it. There's no law outlawing it. So that is something that is commonly misunderstood. There is no separation of church and state in any of our founding documents. That phrase is not found in the Declaration of Independence nor in the Constitution. It was in a letter, a private letter between Thomas Jefferson when he became president in 1801. It was a letter between him and the Danbury Baptists because they were concerned about that. That's a whole other discussion, but I just wanted you to know that that phrase is not in any of our founding documents. We agree that a woman should have autonomy over her own body and her own health. We draw the line when it comes to the health and the life of the child growing within her. That child from the moment of conception has their own DNA, has their own blood type forming, all of these, their personality traits, everything that we declared makes someone human has already been declared and set forth from the moment of conception. as far as women being hurt, there are so many women that are hurt as a result of abortion. There is something called post-abortive syndrome. It is something nobody really wants to talk about. It's something that's just now beginning to be talked about. Women experience PTSD. So many of them have suicide thoughts. Many of them begin to really struggle with the choice that they made. Thankfully, there are places out there that open their arms to them and welcome them in, including the church, and many places that have been established by the church. Here in our own community, we have children's homes. We are in the process of bringing in a safe haven baby box so that if a mother is afraid she can't raise that child, then she can anonymously surrender that child so that child can be adopted. There are so many options. We have our pregnancy resource centers to help women meet their financial needs and that sort of thing, to help them be the mom that we know that they can be. Spontaneous abortions have never been included with this kind of legislation. That's a lie put forth by the abortion industry. When you're talking about a spontaneous abortion, a miscarriage of that nature, and a D&C must sadly be performed, that is not included in what we are talking about. That is a lie that was put forth by the abortion industry during this last year to try to frighten people, and it's just not true. My daughter Aslan and I attended a dinner where we ran into some protests earlier this year from pro-abortion ladies, and they went right after my daughter as soon as they saw her. And one of the things I kept yelling at her is, if you get pregnant and you're not ready to be a mom, you can't have a dream, you can't go to college, you can't do this. And my daughter, 14 years old, looked at him and said, so you're saying that I'm not strong enough to be a mom and do those as well? Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Thomas Hosted. I'm from Clovis, New Mexico. I am a pastor there. I am one of them Bible reading freaks that run around the nation trying to call people to come to know the truth about who they are, where they come from, and there is a place that we're going. In Romans chapter 1, verse 20, it says, for since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes, his eternal power, and his divine nature have been clearly seen, being understood through what has been made, so that they are without excuse. Even though they knew God, they did not honor him as God or give thanks, but became futile in their speculations, and their foolish hearts were darkened. Professing to be wise, they became fools, and exchanged the glory of the incorruptible God for an image in the form of corruptible man, or birds, or four-footed animals, and of crawling creatures. I've heard many times that there is a separation of church and state. Well, there's two churches. One belongs to the living God who gives life, and the other one belongs to the devil who is stealing life every chance he gets. Two churches. You either believe in one or the other. There's no in between. You can't stand on the fence and say that I walk safely here, because that's a slippery slope that's going to slip and leave you in a place called hell. Another thing that I've heard that's been said many times is the economics of having our children to be born to this world. If you'll study right now, you will find the economics of the baby boomers are in trouble right now, because we have murdered so many of our own babies that we have nobody to come along behind to continue funding the things that we to fund the people that are on Social Security now. And that needs to be put into consideration here. Like Angie said, there's lots of points here. The abuse issue that was raised, if we would return to family values, we could help a lot of these abusive nature things that are taking place. When you stop and you look at this, I believe that this ordinance will help curb a lot of things that are against family. The alcohol and the drugs that are destroying families. You can't tell me that a dad going home and being drunk and abusing his family is not a problem, or those that's taking marijuana and going to the house and getting high and abusing their family. It's a selfish, not a family-oriented thing. The last thing I want to make mention to you is the state law, in which I understand that y'all have taken an oath to follow. It seems to be coming from the side that believes that they ought to have the right to destroy a baby. The state law says that it is for life, not for death. And it is under the hold of the federal law, which is for life, not for death.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening. Can I pass these out real quick before I speak? Okay. Is that okay?
Yes.
All right. Just make sure. You could please pass one each all the way down, and I want to make sure the attorney and the city manager or the county manager gets one. Thanks, sir.
Chairman,
Yes. 1 minute, please.
one pager, can someone take a picture of it and send it to me?
It's a pamphlet.
It's a one pager.
It's a big pamphlet, Commissioner.
I plan on emailing all of the commissioners and attorney and anyone else that wants the pamphlet, just letting you know, in PDF form.
Okay. Go ahead, state your name.
Yes, sir. County Commissioners, my name is Logan Brown. I am a lifetime resident of Portales and Roosevelt County. I currently reside in the county at 1581 Simnacker. First off, I'm going to try to rebut some of the things that have been said. There have been some misinformations or falsities that have been presented. Some have already been addressed. The first of which I want to encourage all of you to go and watch. It's a 15-minute presentation from the assistant district attorney from Hobbs. And Hobbs has already passed a similar ordinance. So it's already been done. It can be done. And so go watch the 15-minute video. She strategically and legally expresses the history of all the laws in our country, but specifically with the federal laws that this ordinance is based off of. They were reaffirmed in 1994 and 1996 through the U.S. Supreme Court, and they were not changed. They were not modified. They are still legal on our books. So the fact that they were old laws from the 1870s and then they were done away with in the 1930s is just false. And these 1994 and 1996 was after Roe v. Wade and Casey were in effect. Second off, the separation of church and state has already been addressed multiple times. That was not to keep the church out of the government. That was to keep the government out of the church. Let's see. There is no right to an abortion, as Angie mentioned before. Where do our rights come from? Our rights do not come from a constitution, a paper written by men. They do not come from the state Supreme Court. They do not come from any document. Those documents are there to protect our inalienable rights from our Creator. So He gives us our rights. We don't get to decide what our rights are. He gives us our rights. And right to life is the supreme right. And the fact that DNCs and DNEs would not would be illegal through this ordinance. Page 1 defines the definitions of this ordinance, and it specifies those separation procedures to save the life of the mother are not included in this ordinance. That is clearly defined on page 1 of the ordinance. And at the end of the day, we're just introducing this ordinance today. There will still be 2 weeks of discussion and deliberation, prayer. At the end of the day, our county either stands for life or stands for death. I have faith in my county. I have faith in my commissioners. I have faith in God that He's going to give you guys the heart to do what's right in this issue, to actually take a stand for life. There's going to be threats of lawsuits. There's going to be all the opposition that came out today. You're going to hear all of it, and you're going to hear a lot of it in the next 2 weeks if you pass this into publication. Have no fear.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Carol Morgan. I was your previous nurse manager of public health for 25 years, and I retired in 2020. I've been a citizen for Roosevelt County since 1990. I want to express my pro-life position. I do believe that there is available contraceptive information and materials at the local public health office that are free and confidential to anybody who seeks them. The program that we do through family planning is a federal program, Title 10, and the women that come to us, and I had over 1,000 family planning patients every year. That included 12-year-olds in the last year of my job. And I know that I've done pregnancy tests on some of your granddaughters, and I was required by law to give the family planning information, including abortions. And Curtis Boyd was doing late term abortions in Albuquerque, and that was on the form that I gave them. I don't know what the situation is now. I haven't been there in 2 years, and I don't plan on going back. I like my retirement, but I do plan on doing a ranch in the county for women with drug and alcohol abuse. And I think that that is a lot of it due to people who've had traumatic experiences in their life and didn't receive the things to help them get through it. So what I'm asking for your consideration is the right to the baby's life. This baby doesn't have a voice unless I speak up. I ask you to please consider that. Thank you.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Eric Welsh. I live in Clovis. I spent much of my life as a resident of Roosevelt County. Parents, grandparents, everybody spent a lot of time here. And I want to take a portion of my time to encourage you. What's going on today, what we're hearing today is a war is taking place here. A war against God, a war against his law, and a war against definitions. We've heard many times here today that abortion is healthcare. That is tantamount to 1940s Germany saying that what they were doing was pest control. It really is. And if you want to think about this, just look at the footage from the pro-abortion rally that took place in Las Cruces just a couple months ago. There were people dancing or our governor was dancing on stage, and people were holding signs saying parasites don't have rights. That doesn't look like healthcare to me. It's pest control. It's pest control. So this is what I'm here to ask you today. At what point is the fear of standing up and doing what is right? How are we to deal with the consequences of standing up and doing what's right? My grandfather was a police officer here for 21 years, and what he raised me with was you never fear the consequences for doing what's right. So I want to leave you with that today. As far as separation of church and state goes, there's a nativity scene sitting out in front of this courthouse. There's also a prayer that was given, a very good prayer that was given right before this meeting started. So what I ask you today is, this is not an issue of healthcare. This is an issue of morality. And it is the government's role to establish justice based on moral grounds. Is healthcare safe? Is abortion safe? No. For one of the parties, it could be. And we work very closely with an attorney who has many cases that he's dealing with right now to show that it is not safe, that he is dealing with the women who are dealing with physical problems and the mental problems that come after the decision that they're making. I ask you to do what's right, to do what's moral, and to stand on God's law, because he's the one that placed you in your position to make law in the first place. So thank you.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Michael Eaton, and so I'm going to keep this pretty short. Y'all are elected by the majority of the people in this county to represent them. And so as you consider this ordinance, I'd like you to vote with the majority of the county. And y'all know exactly what that means. And that's not greasing the squeaky wheels that come and have a little bit to say. That's greasing the people that are out there to work and that don't usually have much to say. So I'd appreciate y'all voting on this the right way.
I'm Carla Flowers, 585 South Roosevelt Road, U. And I just have a question. I was just passing by and happened to hear some of what was going on.
Speaking to the mic, please.
Okay, better? Okay. Do you need all that said again?
Yes, please.
Okay, Carla Flowers, 585 South Roosevelt Road, U, here in Portales. I've been passing by and I've just been hearing a little bit of this and that. I have heard about church and state, and I heard the gentleman say either it's Church of God, Church of Satan. I've heard someone saying here, don't do it. It's going to cost us a lot of money. Well, you've got to take a stand. You're either for God or you're for Satan. There is no separation. I agree with that. As far as the money go, money is the root of all evil. If you're evil, I think you're going to say, let's save the money. Root of all evil. Side with God, not with Satan. Whosoever was not found in the Lamb's Book of Life was cast into the lake of fire. Thank you.
Hello again, Commissioners. My name is Scotty Savage. I'm a resident of Roosevelt County. And of course, I'm here to speak on pro-life. You know, people who believe in pro-life have been quiet too long. We've sat around thinking someone else would take care of it. I'm 71 years old, and until this, I've never spoken up. I voted. We've got to be as loud and prolific as those who are trying to kill their babies. One thing that I want you to know and to urge you to think about, you're going to hear a lot, just like someone else previously said. Your lawyer, who's a good man, his job is to tell you all the horrible things that can go wrong if you pass this ordinance. I want to ask you to think on one question. You know that when a baby is aborted, it's a horrible, horrific death, and you can't hear their screams, but they're screaming. If you were on the street and you saw someone ripping a tiny baby's arms off and legs off, and you heard it crying and screaming, would you not give your own life to stop it from happening? I guess we'll all know the answer to that question when y'all vote in a few days. Thanks.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you very much for allowing us all a chance to speak. My name is Victoria Dare. I was born at Roosevelt General Hospital 50 years ago. This is an issue that a lot of people want to hinge on our faith, and we're a Judeo-Christian based nation. But I would say we need to look at our laws. We will rise or fall based on our body of law in this nation. Right now, federally, it's illegal. And rather than hinge everything on my faith, because there are others, many others, that do not adhere to the Bible, that don't think that that is something that their lives should be governed by. But again, our laws are. And our current laws prevent me from harming any one of you. That's a good law that prevents me from coming up and accosting someone. But that baby, when it's conceived in the womb of its mother, is a person. If it's allowed to come forth in its normal path of fruition, it will be a person 40 weeks later. So we must decide, are we going to stand on the right side of history, or are we going to cave to the fear-mongering of you're going to get sued, you're going to get run under, you're going to get things taken away from you because you wanted to stand for those that couldn't stand for themselves or speak for themselves. There was a 9-year-old daughter that was lauded today in this meeting. Beautiful things, wonderful things that she's accomplishing. But all of those things would be nothing by one choice of her mother. Let's not prevent every child that has a chance to be born to do all the things that they were created and gifted and wonderfully made to do. We have a chance in this county to stand on the right side of history. And I would remind you, our founding fathers, they put everything they had on the line. If they had been caught, they would have been immediately hung for treason against the crown. We looked at many of the biographies. Many of them ran risk of being bankrupted over and over and over again, but they stayed the course. They brought this nation forth to be what it is today, where we can sit and have a debate on, do we or do we not? But let this county, Roosevelt County, who is a bunch of people who stand for life, stand for their personal rights, let us not cave to the fear you're going to get sued because you stand for the life of the unborn. I want to also harken back to our founding fathers again. There were many times over and over and over again that they should never have succeeded, but they did. They had a cause. They had their faith that I adhere to on their side. They prevailed. They were not prevented to bring this nation forth because they stood for what they believed. So I encourage you, Bring it forth, listen
Thank
to
you.
it, digest it, make the right choice.
Is there anyone else out there in the hallway? Seeing no one else ready to speak, we'll move on to the agenda now. Number 5, elected officials and department heads. Ms. Ramsey with the detention report. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. For our detention center report, our facility count is at 52, females at 7, males at 45. We have 3 out-of-county detainees. Total number of bookings for the month of November is at 30. Our releases are at 40. We had a total number transported to DOC at 2. For billing for the month, Coy County, $6,750. For juvenile billing for the year so far is at $160,000. We have 12 in group for MAT, 1 on medication. GED, we have 6 and 2 starting today. We have 4 in the academy and 1 hired for next week. I stand for any questions.
Does anyone have anything for
I have none. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Lopez?
I'm good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Moving on to planning. Johnny Montiel.
Good morning, Mr. Commissioners, Chairman. I'm going to give you a quick update on the cannabis permits in Roosevelt County. There's a total of 12 cannabis businesses. Of those 12, 4 are permitted. Of those 4, 1 of them is fully permitted, and 3 of them are conditionally permitted through Roosevelt County. 3 are pending. They are in the queue, and 4 are in draft mode with the state of New Mexico. And 1 has not contacted this office, so I need to reach out to that other one to see if they can start doing our process. The breakdown goes as follows. There are 4 cannabis manufacturers. There are 7 cannabis producer micro businesses, 1 cannabis producer, and that's what we have going on in Roosevelt County as far as cannabis businesses. So I stand for any questions.
I have a question, Johnny.
Yes, sir.
On the producers, I know I looked at this years ago when the cannabis sales was being voted on, and I believe one of the statements was that public water couldn't be used to grow cannabis.
So, yes. So here's the question that we're running into. One of the problems that we're running into, if they're receiving water in the county through the Roosevelt County Co-op, they are trying to get it worked out with the city because the city sells the water to the co-op, and so that requires a commercial license through the city. If you're in the county, you have a well, then you have to convert that well, domestic well, into a commercial well. And so that's what they've been doing. So the permits that we have that are conditional right now is because we haven't got that letter from the city or from the co-op saying that they're not using any city resources. So whenever the city and the county co-op get that issue, whatever questions they have fixed, then the other 3 will be fully permitted. I hope that answers your question.
Well, sort of. I believe I've seen some places and heard of some places that are trying to start growing cannabis, and the only water source would be public source. And with our water shortage, I wouldn't.
Now, again, excuse me for cutting you off. As if they're getting the water from the co-op and the water is selling them that water, and they have their agreement with the city and everything's been squared away, then that's something that we need to visit with the co-op because the co-op is the one selling the water.
Well, I'm not worried about the co-op. I'm worried about our permit not being legal because we're allowing it to happen. We're allowing them a permit to grow it, knowing they're using
right, but it's a
co-op water.
permit. Yeah,
that's co-op water is public water.
Right, but it's a conditional permit also. Until again they get everything hashed out with the co-op and the city, where now it becomes a no resource water from the city, and they're getting the water from the co-op.
then there is not an issue because everything is done the correct way.
Mm.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying
I
about
just want to make sure that you're receiving before you let these permits go out, that they have water rights, because I know you have to have a water right to make it a commercial well before they get a permit to grow it, and it looks like they'd have to have their permit before they could sell it.
Well, and that's just it. There, and this is one of the issues that we're seeing also, is that the state is issuing out permits or license, and yet I have to contact these entities or these businesses for them to come and see me in order to do the process, which they should come and see me first. That way we know that they're squared away with all their resources and all their documentations. So there's still that hit and miss with the state and the county and the individual. So we're trying to get through all that.
Thank you. I just want to crown that. Does it, Mr. Lopez, do you have anything for Johnny?
No, I'm good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I'm good. Thank you. Have a
Thank
good
you,
day.
Johnny. On to the county manager, Ms. Hamilton.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. So just a few things to run through this morning. First, we have December 29th at 9 a.m. scheduled for the swearing-in ceremony of all of the elected, re-elected, and newly elected county officials. Judge Maurer will be conducting that on the second floor in her courtroom. And the next thing is we have the New Mexico Winter Legislative Conference. You've all seen the emails come out on that. That's scheduled for January 17th through the 19th. And if you can all just please check your calendars and let me know who will be planning to attend so that we can make the registrations and necessary hotel arrangements for the commission. The next thing, we're really excited that we received the grant funding in regards to combating illegal dumping. We have seen a wealth of illegal dumping taking place out in the county along the roadways. It's created some very significant safety concerns that our road department has had to go out and pick up. We're trying to clear it as quick as we can. But on December 7th and 8th from 12 to 4, all residents of Roosevelt County, the entire county, have waived tipping fees. So if you have any kind of household trash, oversized items, please do not decorate our county roads with your couch or mattress. Take them to the convenience center. It's free on these days, and they are glad to take them. There are some items that are not accepted, including tires, appliances that have the Freon coolant, shingles, and commercial dumping. That's different situation. We've put out a lot of information about this, and we would encourage them to call the convenience center office if they have any questions on what is and isn't permitted. But again, we really are we've sent out several press releases. I know y'all have seen it posted. It's been in the paper and everything. So we're hopeful that a lot of our residents will be able to take advantage of that. The next thing, we were thrilled that the county has received the New Mexico Sentencing Commission grant for $65,000. We're going to utilize that funding in conjunction with the monies that we've received from the administrative offices of the court to actually provide comprehensive training for the entire 9th Judicial District for all of our first responders on a wide variety of training in regards to behavioral health and the response. We're also looking specifically with this grant, we talked about the training and the development of a coordinated community response team for those dealing with substance abuse, mental health issues, or co-diagnoses. Because we've seen more and more resources used for this. And as we are all familiar, our county detention centers have become the de facto mental health hospitals, unfortunately, since we do not have that. And we'll talk on the movement that we're doing much later in the agenda in regards to behavioral health facilities and such. But we are glad to see that, and we will see more news going out to the media in regards to that award and what we're looking to do. It will be something the county wrote the grant in conjunction with several local governments or received their permission to do that. But then we're going to actually use the regional behavioral health
council group that it includes all of, the courts and first responders, law enforcement, prosecutors and such, to actually map that out and what it can look like. I participated in the Senate Memorial 6, House Memorial 11 task force, as you're aware, in regards to the idea or concept and research of prison unification. While we did not, the ultimate goal of the task force that they put forward was not to actually move forward with a unified system, but actually there were 25 or 29 topics and projects, priorities that they put forward, and those were all included. That is something that has been emailed out, I know, by the New Mexico counties. I forwarded that to the commission as well. But please take some time to read through that task force report. In the respective time, we don't want to go into great detail here, but there's a lot of great information that has been provided to the local medias as well. And we're happy to provide it to any one that would like to see it. We will have it posted on our website. We have completed our audit. It was submitted to the state office of the auditor on December 1st by our contracted auditors on time. None of those are public yet until it's been accepted and such. And so at that point, once it's been accepted and we receive notification from the state, then the auditors will come and present annually as required to this governing board. We have been talking, as you know, on South Roosevelt Road 6 from Industrial to U. We've had significant concerns with the rapid deterioration of that roadway. And I know myself and Mr. Lovato, we brought forward some proposals on what that looked like. Y'all authorized us to approach the city. We did offer to be able to again, partner with them. This has been something that's been in the queue for well over a year, and we know the sooner we get to this, the better. We also have had some great conversations with some of the heavy users on South Roosevelt Road 6. Jody Diaz with the Roosevelt County Community Development Corporation has been helping to connect and really help keep this moving and driving it forward. Right now, we're working up several options and budgetary proposals on what that can look like for the commission and the city council to consider. It will also involve the request for funding consideration from those private industries with the heavy use. But Mr. Lovato spent a lot of time out there meeting, trying to get a better understanding of what exactly is needed on that roadway so that when we fix this, we can have it fixed for much more of a long-term situation, because there are just some incredible safety concerns with the roadway. Nothing would be able to be done, until at least late spring. We need 45 and rising for our temperatures and such for our material applications. So more to come on that, but did want the commission aware that we continue to move that forward. Once we have some of these things outlined, then we'll be able to bring a draft proposal for the commission to consider, and then be able to share that and submit it to the city for their consideration as well, so that we can look to do this. Again, that is a city-owned roadway. That is something that is within the city limits. But we are trying to partner, and we really want to help our residents and the industries that are out there be able to utilize this roadway and enhance it. Also want to share that our Alzheimer's Walk fundraising is still ongoing. We are not yet at our goal. And information has been out and ongoing. It's posted on our website as well. And we will be able to raise funds through the end of the month. So if anyone is interested, they can find more information on that. We were able to have our equalization distribution corrected through tax and rev, as that was something that all counties experienced in terms of the errors of tax and rev and their calculations. So we're happy to report that we've received our distribution and that is current. And next meeting following the December 20th, we will have our annual detention center walkthrough. That will follow this regular meeting so that the commission can do that annual walkthrough and experience all that is, because that's one of y'all's largest responsibilities, as y'all are aware. And then we'll report back on those the first meeting in January. We did have some great participation in the local Christmas parade. You saw the sheriff's office, DWI. It was great to see so many people out there. They said it was the largest one that we've had to date. So
That includes the highlights. Now I would stand for any questions.
Ms. Hamilton, how much money difference was we talking about that this tax and rev made up?
Over 400,000.
Do you have anything, Rod?
No, thank you.
Paul?
No, sir.
Commissioner Lopez, do you have anything?
I'm good, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right. With that, I guess commissioners, nothing they need to report on? Mr. Lopez?
I say one thing. Go ahead.
No, he's.
Dennis.
I'll go ahead.
I wanted to comment on your work on at the dump, the city dump deal. I think it's commendable what we're doing there to allow people an opportunity to dump at no cost. But I think it might be worth considering the hours, because the dump is open like from noon to 4, and a lot of people that can't make it to the dump in those hours. So I would advise and think it might be worth investigation to increase those hours, maybe at least a little bit earlier in the morning, so people that can't dump in the afternoon, but they can in the morning, might have access to the dump. It's the hours, I think, would make as much difference as the program you were initiating. Thank you.
With that, Rod, I don't know if the convenience center is open early of a morning. Sometimes it's a staffing problem with the city.
Right, I understand that.
Paul, do you have something you was wanting to?
I was just wanting to tell Mr. Lovato I don't see him here, but his crew has been out and worked on the AV and has done an exceptionally good job maintaining that road. Just that's all I had to say.
Commissioner Lopez, do you have anything on the commissioner's item line?
No, I'm good, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right. We're going to move on to item 6, old business. At this time, we're going to have a consideration of the county manager's contract. In the years past, I've been on the board. We always went under personnel and executive session to discuss that, and came out and in public made a vote. But this year there's been a little bit of controversy over it. And I visited with the county attorney, and he said it would probably be best if we listed it as an item on the agenda and voted on it. So if you'd like to highlight on that.
Mr. Chair, Mike Garcia, your county attorney. I just wasn't here at the last meeting, but I kind of understood and got briefed on how things went. And I think what we could do, just to have made it a little bit clearer, is just put as the agenda item, county manager's contract. And since there were objections and apparent, maybe a little bit of controversy over it, it seemed like the best thing to do was just to put it back on the agenda in full notice, so that people could, or they could have spoken, I suppose, and they did at the public comments part of the meeting. And then it's pretty much up to the board and you as the chair what you want to do with it at this point.
With that, I'll ask the board if anybody would like to change their motions or votes, or add a motion or vote at this moment on this discussion.
I would, sir.
Mr. Grider.
I'd like to make the motion to give her that 15,000 raise with a 4-year extension on her contract.
I'll second that motion. Mr. Lopez, do you have anything you would like to add on this?
I'm good, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Savage?
Mr. President, we have the motion in a second, I guess, of the questions before the commission, right? And I have some comments, but my comments might be quite lengthy, and I would yield to my senior members if first they would like to speak, because, you know, I'm probably not limited to 3 minutes, and I don't think I can get said what I want to say in 3 minutes.
You speak all
But
you like.
actually, this item came before me as I would say, a bit of a surprise. But at the time that it happened, because I was of the understanding that this was common procedure, this commission has acted in a similar manner in years past when they awarded the contract to the manager, that this was not anything unusual. And we had the lawyer present, and I thought, well, if it's okay with the lawyer, it's okay with me. I realized that the New Mexico Open Meetings Act requires a level of specificity in the motion to closure that states exactly what you're going to be talking about. But I thought, well, since it's been done in the past and this is common procedure, the lawyer's here, I think we can proceed with this, and it's logical that we this can be condoned. But I guess there's some question in some people's mind that it should come back before the commission, and I agree. Okay, let's bring it back before the commission. I'd like to go through some things that I made some notes on personally, and if my fellow commissioners disagree or have any comments on my thoughts, I welcome their input. I'd like to first talk about our detention center. Our detention center has earned a certification that greatly reduces the potential for lawsuits. And we're speaking quite a bit about lawsuits. According to House Bill 4, we know the repercussions of that. You know, we can be subject to lawsuits on civil rights violations with a $2 billion cap, which our county could not pay. We do have insurance to take care of part of it, but if we lose the suit, then the county doesn't have the money to pay that, and they have to pass that on to the landowners. And what we're trying to do as a commission is to reduce the taxes paid by the landowners. So we're really cognizant of the fact that the possibility of lawsuits are real. We need to ever keep that in mind. But as far as this detention center is concerned, this detention center has earned a certification. And along with getting the certification, these procedures and policies that are put into place to get that certification have accomplished some things, reducing risk. We have a new surveillance system there. We have strict health protocols that have reduced the incidence of COVID. We have educational opportunities occurring there for the detainees. We have programs available to assist with drug abuse and alcoholism. Upon touring that facility, I noticed, the first thing I noticed was how clean it was and how contented the detainees were. I think this has come about because of this certification. And it is my understanding that this occurred before I got on the commission, but it's my understanding that prior to the county manager's employment, we had severe problems at the detention center. And we were at severe risk for lawsuits. But our county manager started with no experience in management of a detention center. But she took it upon herself to educate herself, to learn proper management of the detention center, to the extent that she even served as the detention manager at the same time as she was conducting her regular responsibilities as a county manager. So if we consider just the dollars that she saved us by her initiative and forward thinking on the detention center, that alone, if we consider nothing else, that alone would be, in my mind, justify her raise. Now, there's other things that we have, and I'll try to go on, talk about it. Because of Mrs. Hamilton's leadership, we now have a new road barn with a more safe workplace. again, minimizes the opportunity for litigation. You know, it's one thing to increase the work, the safety of the workplace. I don't want to minimize that and say we did it just so we wouldn't be sued. We did it so that we could have a better workplace and a safer workplace for our personnel. But we accomplished that through the county manager's leadership. Mrs. Hamilton has initiated a 5-year road plan, 5-year road plan that balances the application of our resources equally among the 4 districts that have roads. We have an advertised workshop. We advertise to the public an opportunity to have a workshop that the public has input to come to this workshop and voice their concerns about roads in their districts. It's advertised. We're beginning to have more participation in that. After that, we just finished a special meeting of the commissioners to set priorities. Each commission was representative. Each commissioner represented their respective districts and took part in this special meeting to set priorities and reestablish priorities on which roads need to be maintained and paved or put asphalt on. So we had that. That was an advertised meeting. It was a special meeting, but it was advertised, and it was available to the public to participate, to at least not participate, but come and watch. So this 5-year road plan is something that come about through forward thinking of our county manager. During that meeting, I learned something new that was new to me. And it helps to dispel the myth that the commissioners are building roads for their own personal use. I learned at that meeting that county has a policy that no new construction will be initiated that is adjacent to an elected official's premises or land. So, I live on Roosevelt Road P. Sometimes it's getting in a little bit, the edges are being worn off of it, but I was informed that we can't do that. We can't do any new construction there. We can do some maintenance, but no new construction because I'm an elected official. We discussed the fact that the road going north out of Arch, going over from Arch over to 8, is a terrible road. It has been in need of caliche for several years, but the county sheriff lives on that road. Again, no new construction if you're an elected official. So I think that's a good policy. It adds to transparency. One thing I noticed about Mrs. Hamilton has worked very hard to improve working relationships with other elected officials, especially the county sheriff and the probate. Maybe, there may be reasons for that, but I noticed that when I started, I noticed that there were some friction. I believe it to be friction between the county manager and the sheriff. I spoke to the commissioner about it. Since that time, I had several phone calls and personal conversations with the county sheriff, complimenting the county manager on her ability to work effectively and being courteous, considerate, and be able to work in a professional manner with the sheriff. So I know that she's worked hard on improving relationships there. We have improved the facilities at the county fairgrounds and are effectively maintaining all of our buildings there. Some things that we have done, and I'm sure there's more that I could mention, but I'd just like to mention a few. We put a new roof over the Johnny Ogden building. We installed additional pig wash racks, new bleachers to enhance safety in that pavilion, put a fan in the other old pavilion. We've installed a new drainage system. We had a severe drainage problem where drainage from the fairgrounds was affecting our neighbors there, especially the peanut mill. We've corrected that. We have improved access, handicap accessibility, paved the parking lot on the west side and put lighting in there to increase safety. We've done a lot of improvements there, and I've received many cards from exhibitors and the Fair Board showing their appreciation. And this was accomplished through the leadership of this county manager. Mrs. Hamilton has demonstrated great expertise in preparing the annual budget. I just finished the audit exit, and we had 0 findings. And the one finding we had last year was corrected. And I don't know where our little plaques all went. She is the recipient of the Green Flame Award from the state auditor on multiple occasions. As far as figuring the budget, being sure that it's applied in a manner that's correct, I think that she does an outstanding job. Mrs. Hamilton has effectively negotiated the mitigation of the rain damage and the green mold situation at La Casa. It requires her working with contractors, insurance agents, and La Casa personnel to get that situation corrected. It takes a lot of hours of work, and you've got to be able to work effectively and courteously with others. It was a major accomplishment in my mind. She facilitated the transition of the bottom home to a food bank. And now we have cars lined up as far as to the south as the ENMU complex there. People getting food from that bank. This has come about through her leadership. Mrs. Hamilton provides weekly summaries of her work that she's doing. She provides these weekly summaries to the board. This summary is emailed to each commissioner to keep them informed and serve the commissioners as a valuable appraisal tool. She also provides oral reports of the work she is doing at each commission meeting. And so those who say that she hasn't been appraised, it's too soon to evaluate her contract because it's too early. After several years of experience in education and being a teacher and serving on the school board, and I'm not sure that we can exactly parallel and a school board to a county commission, but in a lot of ways we can, especially when it comes to evaluations. If you have a high school principal, for example, who only evaluates his teachers on a day before their contract is to be renewed, you have a pretty sorry principal. These things are accomplished effectively by daily walkthroughs. A principal that is walking through the building, seeing what his teachers are doing, spending time in the classroom with the teachers, so that it comes time to evaluate that employee, they know through experience that they're actually doing the job and what's going on. You don't wait until the day before that their contract is to be renewed to do the evaluation. My experience and my fellow commissioners' experience in working with Mrs. Hamilton is a daily, weekly experience of working with her on these projects that she's doing. It's not that we're just coming up the day before her contract is due and say, oops, let's do an evaluation. We're evaluating her continually, and she's reporting to us continually and demonstrating her expertise and her effectiveness continually. So I think that needs to be pointed out. I had an opportunity to work with Mrs. Hamilton in renegotiating the joint powers agreement with the city on dispatch and the public service answering point and dispatch services. And through participation in that, I was very much impressed with her knowledge and experience in the dispatch, public service answering point, the employees, their wages, and their responsibilities. And I was impressed with her knowledge. I was impressed with the, contrary to some public opinion, that she is difficult to work with. I found her to be extremely courteous at all times, very knowledgeable, and did not find her at all to be difficult to work with. So in the process of doing that, she had to work with Mr. Randy Knudsen, who was serving as a counsel. She worked with Sheriff Parker, Lieutenant Sanchez. She worked with the personnel at Lee County to gain information there on their regional dispatch center. Just the gathering of this information requires a high level of expertise. And then she has to gather all that, put it in the form of a JPA, and negotiate with the city. So I think she's done an excellent job in that respect. And I applaud her efforts in that. I think she did, along with Sheriff Parker and Lieutenant Sanchez and myself and Randy Knudsen, come up with a justifiable joint powers agreement. And we're still considering that, and it's under, we're still working on that. And I have confidence that we're going to get something accomplished there. In addition to that, I have visited briefly with Mrs. Hamilton on her desire to develop a long-range strategic plan that incorporates the cooperation of all elected officials. It's a long-range plan and would take several years to develop and facilitate. It makes sense to me that in order to develop and facilitate a long-range plan, it's justifiable to employ a long-range manager. I'd be hesitant to start a long-range plan that she's developed and worked with a lot of other county officials in developing a plan, get started in it, and then go down the road a little bit and decide, well, we need a new county manager. Then what happens to the long-range plan? So in my mind, it's justifiable to renew this contract. It's my understanding that this contract that she has now is 5 years old, means in my mind, she hasn't had a raise in 5 years. I believe that inflation at this time is around 13%. If we give her a $10,000 raise, this is what I talked to you about at the last commission meeting. If you were to award her a $10,000 raise, she'd be working at a rate lower, because of inflation, lower than what she started at. So if you're going to really get serious about awarding her a raise, give her a raise that is actually a raise. I have, and the information was provided to me at the last meeting of the salaries of other county managers. And so I looked at just the salaries of the county managers of our neighboring counties, the ones that are directly adjacent to us. And added them up, divided by 5, and found out that our raise, if we give her the raise we're talking about, she would still be below average with other neighboring county managers. So I don't think that to work for $112,000 is an unreal figure. The question in my mind, I think, is justifiable. What I would like to see is the information in addition to the other managers is what other perks does she have other than salary? And it's in my mind, I've become aware of the fact that she has a pickup that she drives. I don't think that is out of line after being an ag teacher and having other ag teachers in the state having a vehicle available for their use because they're visiting projects. I think for her to have that vehicle to drive is justifiable, especially a lot of the things that she has to go supervise and look at are a lot closer to her residence than they are to the county, to the courthouse. In many instances, she'd have to drive all the way to the courthouse to check out a vehicle and drive farther to check whatever she's going to. So as far as having a vehicle to have disposal, I'm comfortable with that. We have had several employees that are very good employees. We lost a detention manager that was recently who was a very good detention manager. We lost him. He entered into employment as a very aggressive, intelligent gentleman and became expertise in his field. Once he's become an expert, then he's stolen by a neighboring county. That is a real occurrence. That people enter your job, it doesn't matter if you're a county's manager or you're a road grader or what you're doing. You start at a level, you become expert, and then you find out, hey, I can make more money somewhere else. So retaining people in this county because we're not able to pay them is a real problem. We lost an HR manager with similar circumstances. So, I began to think about that, and I actually Googled this information some. According to several polls, 50 to 80% of employees throughout the nation are leaving their jobs due to a feeling of lack of appreciation. 50 to 80%. There have been several polls that show this. The second most common reason for leaving their employment is low pay. I can understand that. If I'm making X amount of dollars and I can make something more somewhere else doing the same job, I owe it to myself and I owe it to my family to provide for them the best that I can. I probably need to take that position. So in order to offset perhaps a feeling of a lack of appreciation for our manager, maybe to provide her encouragement to stay employed here. Her performance, not just through my 2 years of experience with her, in my mind, justifies the reemployment and an extension on the contract. I think she has earned it. And I'm ready to vote in favor of this. So with that, I will yield to my commissioners. Like I said, if you disagree with what I had to say, I want to hear it.
Rod, you've already told everything there is to say. No, not everything, but I appreciate you giving a rundown of her accomplishments and what she does do for this county.
I'd like to speak on one thing. Many of y'all know I'm termed out and I'm leaving, and Mr. Criswell's coming back. And it's been said, why don't we let the new commissioner make the decision? I want to let y'all know something. I come in here 8 years ago. Miss Hamilton had just started. I had no idea what was going on. She had no idea. She'd just been about 3 months in. We get in about 3 months and we do an audit. We find out we ain't going to be able to make payroll. We have no idea what in the world are we going to do. Could have cut tail and run. Could have done something. Said, I'll just let Santa Fe handle it. But she didn't. We put our heads together. We found some help. And I told Amber, I said, I don't ever want to leave the next commissioner the headaches and the problems that we had to face. And that's why I want to support Amber Stan for you. So when you get in there, you'll get the chance to learn, because it takes a little bit. It ain't as cut and dry as everybody thinks it is. I want to leave you somebody that helps you get started. And at any time, Miss Hamilton, the commission can choose to let her go. You have to pay 6 months of bereavement, I believe. So it's not like a contract is permanent, but it gives her peace of mind. If I do my job well, I get to stay here and do this. And for that reason is why I'm supporting her new contract. So now then, if there's no more discussion, Mr. Lopez, do you have any discussion?
No, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Savage, thank you for your kind words in reference to kind of giving a history of what Ms. Hamilton has done for us. She knows where I stand. She's gone above and beyond for not only our constituents, but she always has, she's got Roosevelt County. She's got a special place in her heart for Roosevelt County, and she's just been above and beyond.
With that, would the clerk read back Mr. Greider's motion?
Sure. Commissioner Greider made a motion to raise Ms. Hamilton's pay by $15,000 and grant her a 4-year extension.
That was seconded by the chairman.
Seconded by Commissioner.
With that, we're going to have a roll call vote now. Mr. Lopez, how do you vote?
Yes.
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 4 yes votes. Ms. Dixon was unable to be here. Motion passes. Now we'll move on to new business. Discussion and review of the 2024 capital outlay priorities. Ms. Hamilton, you have a list of that?
This was included in your packet, and we just want to touch on a few things because this is our last preparations. As you know, we have ongoing conversations with our elected officials that represent us up in Santa Fe, and capital outlay is one of those that we're able to bring back those funds for our projects that the commission sets as your top priorities. So this year we have road improvement projects, and we went over that in our road workshop. We did make those requested modifications, so there will be some minor adjustments to the dollar amount requested. Listed in our plan that y'all approved in August was just shy of about $850,000. So we'll be close to that and making that request. Like I say, there's just a couple of roads that y'all know we got funded with the TPF or the Transportation Project Fund. So those roads will come off and add on the additional priorities that y'all noted in the workshop. We also continue to list the detention center electrical and plumbing upgrades. We've funded quite a bit of that to date ourselves, and our request is at $900,000 for that because the front addition that was built and opened in the late 1980s is the one that's needing a significant overhaul, as y'all are aware from our walkthroughs. The road heavy equipment, we had requested $740,000. That will increase some because of the fact that the cost of that equipment has gone up. So the equipment itself stays the same in terms of Rick's original request for the chip box and those type of things. It's just that they're costing more at this point. And we're seeing that with the fleet. Y'all authorized replacement of 2 fleet. Those fleet have been on order a year and a half, and we are seeing the prices of both of those fleet going up in excess of $15,000 each. And they're not able to honor our original PO and purchase agreement because the state contractors had to flux with that. You know, we're just struggling getting inventory in at this point. So the next one is the courthouse, and y'all had the presentation on this from Mr. Lehman. So that stays the same in terms of dollar amounts. This is the one that y'all commissioned to actually have the study done and the architectural plans laid out as far as the phasing of what needs to be completed. And the first phase is about $560,000, again, set off of y'all's priorities. And then master planning at the fairgrounds, that rounds out our top 5 with the additional upgrades to be made out there, the continued enhancement and improvement of the ADA. We did receive some public input from our recent meetings on the master plan. So we feel confident we're ready to move forward once we can secure those funds. So other than that, I would stand for any questions. Those are your top 5. Those are the ones that we focus on with our requests. And those are the ones that we'll be able to have those conversations with our legislators.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I've got a couple of things. Hey, Amber, thank you for that report, but hey, I really want to look into replacing that chain link at the fairground.
Say that again, Commissioner.
Pardon me?
Repeat what you just said. I got the mic over the phone now.
Oh, sorry about that. No, I would really like to continue to pursue the improvement on replacing that chain link fence at the fairground. To make it a facade where it would be very acceptable to outsiders and, of course, to all of our Roosevelt County residents. And also, I would really like to look into working with the city on JPH fixed line. That's my initiative. I've got 2 more years left in the commission, and I would love to see those 2 things done. And for the record, or I would like the record to reflect, I won't say who I heard this from, but we're going to have a lot of money, a lot of capital outlay monies for infrastructure and improvements within our community. So I think we really need to look at these projects and really go to Santa Fe and work as hard as we can to get as much as we can for our constituents and for for everyone. So I would really like to see if we can meet with the city manager and those city officials on the line street and then look into the replacement of the changing fence. Thank you.
Did you get that, Miss Hamilton?
Yes.
Fairgrounds in line.
And Commissioner Lopez, so the fairgrounds in and of itself in phase 1 includes your requested fencing. So that's already included in there, and the replacement of. We've looked at the quotes for the price for the linear feet, and that includes the decorative elements more on the entry areas, whereas it's just a replacement of the existing fencing around the external capacities. So those are all included in there.
Awesome. Thank you, Amber.
Yes, sir.
With that, Chair, entertain a motion to accept the.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
What's that?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Well, I'll say.
I have a motion and a second to accept. Couldn't get that out. The 2024 capital outlay priorities. Mr. Lopez, how do you vote?
Yes.
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 4 yes votes. Priorities accepted. On to resolutions, ordinance, and proclamations. Item A, consideration of proclamation declaring December 22, 2022 as Drunk and Drugged Driving Prevention Month. Miss Reed.
Oh,
I was looking for you outside.
I've been hiding in the back.
Oh.
Commissioners, good morning, county officials, and the community. I'm here to ask the commissioners for consideration of this proclamation. We've done this for a few years. We've actually went with Curry County and DeBaca County. We do some similar activities and just try to make more aware, people in the community more aware to take care of business in December because there's a lot more parties, a lot more entertainment, that kind of thing going on. So I would like to read the proclamation for you.
Thank you.
Okay. Drunk and Drunk Driving Prevention Month, December 1, 2022 through December 31st, 2022. Whereas Roosevelt County officials value the health and safety of all our citizens, and whereas local leaders in government and in the community know that the support of the citizens in our communities are the most effective tools that they can have in their effort to reduce the use of alcohol and other drugs by New Mexicans. And whereas Roosevelt County is joining with other New Mexico DWI coordinator affiliates to support all efforts to reduce DWI crashes, DWI fatalities, deaths in another word, and the use of alcohol by residents through the state. And whereas the New Mexico DWI Coordinators Affiliate represents 33 counties with the common goal of reducing the incidence of DWI, alcoholism, alcohol abuse, drug addiction, or drug abuse, and preventing or reducing the incidence of domestic abuse related to the use of alcohol, and whereas the New Mexico DWI coordinators in the 33 counties provide services under the local DWI program that provide compliance monitoring, tracking for over 12,000 DWI, DUI offenders, ensuring that clients are in compliance with the court-ordered requirements. And whereas students K through 12th grade throughout the state also receive prevention education activities through these programs. And whereas nationwide, every day, 926 people are injured, or every 90 seconds, someone is injured in a drunk driving crash, according to MAD. And whereas the reduction of alcohol-involved vehicle crash fatalities and serious alcohol-involved vehicle crash injuries is due in part to the dedicated work of the local DWI programs. And whereas the purpose of Drunk Driving Prevention Month is to raise awareness around DWI, alcoholism, alcohol abuse, drug addiction, and or drug abuse, and the efforts of the DWI affiliates and the local DWI programs. And whereas the Drunk Driving Prevention Month will be celebrated in Curry, DeBaca, and Roosevelt counties in New Mexico, December 1st through 31st, 2022. And now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the governing body, Roosevelt County Board of Commission, does hereby designate December 2022 as Drunk Driving Prevention Month. Roosevelt County Board of Commissioners urge all citizens and parents, government agencies, and public and private institutions, businesses, hospitals, schools, and colleges in Roosevelt County to support efforts that will increase community awareness, understanding, and action to address DWIs in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Reed. With that, the chair would like to make the motion to accept the December 2022 as Drunken and Driving Prevention Month.
Second.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. Mr. Grider, how do you vote?
Yes.
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 4 yes votes. Thank you,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Reed.
Appreciate your time.
On to item B, request approval of notice of intent for consideration of the ordinance 2023-1 requiring abortion providers in Roosevelt County to comply with federal law. Commissioner Savage.
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, I'd like to thank the people that chose to participate today and express their opinions. I think that you should be commended on taking a stand and letting us know as a commission what the issues are and how you feel about this issue. I'd like to thank you, both sides, for their participation in that way. Now, that being said, though, and I'd like to mention, this is not a motion to accept or reject this ordinance. This would be a motion to a notice of intent to consider it. And the actual consideration of this, should this motion pass, would be January 10th. That will allow time for people to have input to their respective commissioners and for commissioners to weigh the good points and bad points that each side is making. And I think what we're seeing this morning, there are good points and bad points to both sides. So this will allow opportunity for input. So I move that we adopt Resolution 8B and approve the notice of intent for consideration of ordinance 2023-01 requiring abortion providers in Roosevelt County to comply with federal law.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to accept the motion of intent for the ordinance. Mr. Lopez, how do you vote?
No.
Yes.
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 3 yes votes. Motion passes. On to number 9, procurements, contracts, and agreements. Request of approval of a memorandum of agreement with the city of Portales, the county of Roosevelt, Curry County, Quay County, and Baca County to commission a 2-phase feasibility study in the behavior health science of Clovis, New Mexico. Ms. Hamilton.
Yes, Mr. Chair, Commissioner. So included in your packet was the memorandum of agreement for phase 2. This is, again, with each of those entities, we have set out and have been working for well over a year now on a regional behavioral health facility. It is something that we are very much in need of. We have had our public meeting that we had earlier this summer, where we had it at the YAM and invited members to attend and talked about the model, which is the one that they put forward to begin with was a 72-bed inpatient. I believe is a 96-bed total in terms of outpatient services, detox services, and complete wraparound. This phase 2 will continue to move forward with that. There are some additional counties that are talking about joining this. So our percentages will only go down from what is estimated in this. Union County has expressed initial interest in joining, and Chaves County is also considering. That may include additional municipalities within those counties as well, like it has here. You see the Roosevelt County percentage at this point is 9.67, and we are looking to spend an amount not to exceed a total of $190,000. So we will have 9.67 up to 9.67% of that. Again, I anticipate there will be other entities joining, but we want to at least move this forward because we feel like it's really important to keep it moving. Try to work on securing the land where this facility can be placed and to be in a position to be able to request some of the capital outlay for this facility that is to be available. There has been communications, as y'all are aware, with all of the or a lot of the state. I would say the state direction in terms of like behavioral health and the State Department of Health with the governor's office, with our legislators sharing the importance of this and the data that has come from that initial feasibility study. That is something that we've posted and we'll continue to share that information too. But all that to say, this is just our second phase. This will actually have more of the groundwork, the engineering, the architecture, the layout of the facility, what that should look like. And again, it is with Initiative Health that we started with. The city of Clovis handled all of the procurement for this. So again, it's very unique. What we're seeing is that with the opioid dollars, a lot of other counties and municipalities are trying to get to this point, and we're about 2 years ahead of them. So kudos to this commission for having that vision to be able to move forward in conjunction with all of these other entities, the local government entities, so that we can keep this going. I would stand for any questions.
Have none.
Mr. Lopez, do you have any discussion?
No, but I would move to approve agenda item 9A as presented by Ms. Hamilton.
I'll second that. It's been moved and seconded to approve the memorandum agreement with the counties and the cities of Clovis for the behavioral health facility feasibility study. Commissioner Lopez, how do you vote?
Yes.
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 4 yes votes. Agreement passed. Item 9B, request for approval of amendment number 1 with the Department of Finance for Food Security Grant Award. Food, $11,000. RCFBENM increase to 170 for the construction of the food pantry building in Roosevelt County. Millie.
Good morning, Commissioners. Yes, I would like to request the approval for the amendment to this contract. It was initially $137,797, and Ms. Sprague has been working hard to secure additional fundings for this food pantry building. So this would increase it to $170,000.
And Mr. Chair, if I can, just to clarify this, when Ms. Sprague had written the original grant request, there were some things like that weren't included initially, like an HVAC system, which we think is imperative for a food pantry. And also, it is a public works. It will be a public works project. And so those initial wage rates for public works were not included. So without having the wage rates, that was about a 40% increase just in the wages alone as the requirement of the state procurement law. So she has done a great job in trying to solicit the fund. The food bank has also agreed to pledge, and we're saying the award itself, the contract is $170,000. As we talk on this item a little bit later in terms of the bid, you will hear about some additional difference. So this is just money coming from the state that was awarded, that the commission agreed to serve as the fiscal agent to construct this food pantry. And it will be constructed right behind the Bonham home. The road department did a fantastic job of clearing out and doing that initial groundwork so that we have that perfect site. We have great access in and out. The traffic flow and the pattern will be able to allow for the high level of traffic that right now is lining up through the Roosevelt County Health Clinic distribution.
Thank you.
I move for the adoption of 9B, approve amendment number 1 with the Department of Finance Administration for the Food Security Grant Award.
Second.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the amendment 1 for the increase to 170,000. Mr. Crowder, how do you vote?
Yes.
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 4 yes votes. Moving on to item C, request approval of capital outlay appropriations 22-G4092 for $375,000 to purchase and equip fire trucks with Arch Fire Department. Ms. Flores.
Good morning, Commissioners. Yes, it's a request for approval of capital outlay appropriation 22-G4092 for $375,000 to equip to purchase and equip fire trucks for Arch Fire District in Roosevelt County.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
move we approve 9C.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we approve 9C. Mr. Lopez, how do you vote?
Yes.
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 4 yes votes. On to item D, request approval of capital outlay appropriation 22-G4096 for $125,000 for stucco and parking lot upgrades to Roosevelt County Health Clinic. Ms. Costa.
Yes, it's my request for approval of capital outlay appropriation 22-G4096 for $125,000 for stucco and parking lot upgrades at the Roosevelt County Health Clinic, La Casa de Buena Salud.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
move we accept 9D.
Second.
To move and second to accept 9D. Mr. Crowder, how you vote?
Yes.
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 4 yes votes. On to item E. I'll let Carol read that one again so we don't repeat it twice.
Yes, it's a request for approval of capital outlay appropriation number 22-G2945 for $150,000 to purchase and equip vehicles for the Roosevelt County Sheriff's Office.
With that, the chair will make the motion to accept item E. It's been moved and seconded that we accept item E. Mr. Lopez, how do you vote?
Yes.
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 Thank you.
Thank you.
On to item F. Request approval of award of ITB 2023-3 Roosevelt County Food Pantry Building to Nixon Enterprises and Corp. for $173,407 and up to $198,191 for total project building. Ms. Vieira.
So we released an invitation to bid for this project. This type of procurement is based solely on the lowest bid to the county. There is not an evaluation panel. I review the bids to make sure they are responsible and responsive. For this ITB, we only had one bid submitted from Nixon Enterprises. In the bid specifications, we asked for the bidder to provide specific options to help meet the funding. This is why you will see the $173,000 amount and the $198,000 for the added options. So like Ms. Hamilton mentioned earlier, when this grant was initially written, it didn't take into consideration the scaling wages being a public works project and some of the essential items that would be needed for the building. Some of the options include a 20 by 20 metal awning, a 24 by 24 concrete apron, a stained and sealed concrete floors, and then an electronic ADA front entrance for the building. So initially, just the basic building is $173,406. With the added options, it comes out to the $198,190. With that, I'll stand for any questions.
With that, I know we approved $170,000 over here. Will the county have to make up the difference
So
since their
currently-
grant has not covered all?
Currently, Ms. Sprague is still working on securing additional funding. I know she mentioned that there is still funds that she could use from the food bank, such as private donations. But yes, ultimately, we could come to the commission to see if there's funds we could utilize for that project.
And that's, again, Mr. Chair, why we use the wordage up to 198,191, because we do not know yet what Ms. Sprague's going to be able to secure. So she has about $12,000, we're told, from the project from Clovis for the food bank that's left over that she's going to be able to revert down here. She's received initial approval. She has about $10,000 in private donations that I think she said that she could commit for this as well. So there may not be a difference, or there may be a small allotment that we will come to the commission for. Obviously, you've seen, I took pictures of just the distribution that happened last week and sent it to y'all. Y'all can see just there's just such an enormous need of food insecurity in our county. But the commitment itself at this point is $0 on our budget until we know. So we've just asked for authorization up to this amount, depending on what the food bank is able to bring. If in the event that the county needs to put forward anything, that will come to the commission. Y'all will have to authorize it before we authorize that work.
Mr. Lopez.
I'm good, Mr. Chairman.
With that, the chair will make the motion to approve the award of the ITB 2023-3.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we accept the award of 2023-3. Mr. Lopez, how do you vote?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
4 yes votes. Motion passes. Do we have a need for executive session today? With no executive
Chairman,
session?
prior to adjournment, I have a question.
Okay.
On January the 10th, I believe personally it might be advisable, if possible, to move our meeting to the Jake Lopez. If we've had this many people today, just this much controversy and this much input on just whether or not we start considering it, and I think that at the next meeting on January 10th, we could possibly have many more people, and I think it would be at our advantage to move to Jake Lopez for that particular meeting. So,
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
so
Ms. Hamilton, can you
I will advertise
have
that.
that advertise it?
Yes, sir.
Have them set up the speakers? I guess we'll have to get,
And I think we
Chase
should
out there.
clarify that since there's so many in here. So there is a requirement of a minimum of 14 days public notice given and advertised. The soonest that this notice of intent would be able to be advertised is possibly in Wednesday's paper if she's really forgiving and lets me send it to her past 11. If not, it may be on Sunday. But we want to allow adequate time for all of our public to be able to notice and see what is being advertised. So January 10th is the soonest that the commission could do this, because we will not meet that requirement at the December 20th. And we, again, don't want to have any questions. And that was with my conversation with the genius sitting next to me. That was not mine. That is statute.
A statue. So not the next meeting, but the January 10th meeting will be held at the Jake Lopez building, it looks like. Seeing no problems for them. All right, well, media communication. Anyone from the paper?
Mr. Hanson is here.
Oh. Okay.
Do you have any questions? Okay.
Hey, people want alfalfa. With that, we're going to adjourn the county commission meeting, and we're going to take a little break, and then we'll come back to our work session on the fleet and committee appointments.
Great.
So, meeting adjourned. Oh.
Okay.
Shane, before you hang up with Dennis, can you ask him if he can come sign resolutions today?
Hey, Dennis. Can you come sign some resolutions?
Over
here.
Exactly right.
Oh.
I'm still correct.
Okay, yeah, we may just take them over there too.